I want to talk about that technology because it's a very good point. But now Italy right now, we're looking at Italy, and from what we can see and hear, the hospitals are chock full of people that are dying. There's not enough respirators, etc. I mean, surely we must do something about this, David. I know what you're saying is that these things will pass and we're crushing our global economy, which actually has bigger implications than the health. I agree with you. This will ruin people's lives.
Well, not only that, it will cause massive amounts of ill health and death.
I agree with that too. I agree with that. It's just pushing it down further. But what about these people that are dying and clogging up hospitals and the fact that could happen with the NHS? That is a reality.
Well, I've thought all along, and it seems to be the case, that the strain that is prevalent in Italy is something of a stronger nature than what's generally circulating. And also in Iran. That's something else. Just as an aside, we have a country targeted by America, targeted by Israel, Iran, and as this virus came out of China, of all the countries in all the world, Iran got its smack worse than anyone before it started to appear in Italy.
It was a little odd.
And members...
Could have been a coincidence.
Well, I mean, you know, after 30 years, Brian, coincidences are something I have to be very well persuaded, because coincidences don't turn out to be so. They turn out to be made to happen. Anyway, so not only did Iran have this, what again seems a stronger strain of it, but it was killing the people within the regime at a very early stage. And you know, that's a coincidence. How many coincidences do you want? And then you have another one, you see. I mentioned that one of the problem reaction solutions that I've said in the books over the years that they were going to use to justify this Hunger Games society was a pandemic. You look at the movie Contagion, I think it was 2011.
I watched it last week.
It's basically coming out of China and stuff like that.
Yeah, Steven Soderbergh, it's got Jude Law in there, and Gwyneth Paltrow. It's very interesting and very well made.
Yeah, but you know, I've talked to you in previous chats about something called preemptive programming, where they preempt something to put it into the subconscious mind, even the conscious mind, through Hollywood, and then suddenly it kind of happens for real. But I was sent a document from 2010 that was published by the Rockefeller Foundation. The Rockefeller Foundation obviously is a front for the Rockefeller family, which is fundamentally involved in this global cult. In fact, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers were the creators of the World Health Organization, which is there to control health policy and direct the perception of health in all its forms from a central point.
You don't trust the WHO at all?
Well, it's currently headed by a guy called Tedros from Ethiopia, who was a Politburo member in a Marxist government that's been running Ethiopia for a long time. He was health minister and was exposed 3 times for covering up cholera epidemics in Ethiopia. And now he's head of the World Health Organization telling us about the coronavirus. You will understand if I don't agree or even believe a word that comes out of his mouth. See, these organizations are not there to serve the public. They're there to serve this agenda. So who came out and said, oh no, don't touch cash, you pass on the virus, just use Tedros, same guy. He's the one that praised China for a wonderful job they did with the coronavirus and what have you. Now, this Rockefeller Foundation document was about a scenario involving a flu pandemic. And it described what would happen, that China would use authoritarian, draconian methods to meet the challenge, and then the West wouldn't basically start like that, but then would become the same. And this whole global lockdown was described in this document. And then we moved to 6 weeks before the virus came to light in China. And we had something called Event 201. This was a simulation of a coronavirus pandemic, which involved the World Economic Forum, which has its meeting every year in Davos. This is the 1%, and involved the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Bill Gates, the guy that wants to vaccinate the frickin' world, and, by the way, is funding the electronic tracking of people so that the authorities know if they've been vaccinated or not, through an organization he funds called Gavi. And they ran this simulation called Event 201, in which they inserted, scenario or simulated news reports. And if you watch them, you can see it on the internet. It's just like the news reports we're seeing in the media. And they were discussing, okay, what can we do? And there was a whole area of this simulation where they're discussing how they control information. And they're saying, how do we deal with the anti-vaxxers? How do we make sure that the official narrative of the pandemic is the one that's dominating the internet and all these lines of communication, and not what they call conspiracy theories, putting another point of view. And all these things that they talked about in this scenario have happened. We've had Facebook and Google saying that they're going to make sure that, first of all, the World Health Organization version gets free advertisements, and they're going to suppress the other opinion, what they call conspiracies and what have you, and disinformation and fake news. Who decides if it is? They do. We've had YouTube this week say that because they don't have the same number of staff, they're going to now have videos taken down purely by AI algorithms. And because of that, they say a lot more videos are going to be taken down, even those that don't break what they call community guidelines. So all these things that were decided in this Gates World Economic Forum 1% simulation 6 weeks before that they should happen are happening.
And that was all public information about them doing that, or you got the report about it? Okay.
No. I read the actual document of the Rockefeller Foundation and its scenario, which is exactly what's played out. But the Event 201 simulation was filmed. You can see it on the internet.
Okay. And now they're running that playbook right now.
Exactly the same. Another thing is that at the same time that simulation was taking place, 10,000 military personnel and support staff were attending the World Military Games in Wuhan, China. So that is, I'm not saying this happened, but what we have to put, if we're not going to be scammed and just believe the official narrative, we have to explore possibilities. And another possibility is that World Military Games was a wonderful front to release some kind of virus in that same area. So all these things are something that have to be explored and put into the mix, because what happens if you only believe the official version of everything is the official solution for the problem you believe in is going to take us further and further down the road to a society that would make George Orwell bloody wince.